Hello, this is Jahara. Welcome back to In the Line of Wire. Today I have with me NaumanSheikh, who's a technologist, and much, much more. Let's talk to him and find out what he thinks of the local technology scene, and also talk to him about what he's doing and what he would advise young people to do to improve their chances of getting work. Hi, Nauman.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Glad
salam.
to be here.
Good to have you here.
Thank
Now,
you.
tell me, you moved back to Pakistan how long ago, and what were you doing in the US?
It's going to be 2 years exactly in a week.
Okay.
So
are we going to
since
have a
we've been
party?
back. I don't think so. Not yet. Okay, so so moving back, I was in US for about 10 years. And all those 10 years I was working over there. So unlike a lot of other people who have returned, I didn't go to school in US.
Okay.
I got educated here in Pakistan.
Where?
Fast, Lahore.
Okay.
One of the early batches.
Okay.
So until about a few months ago, I think they used to have a sequential roll numbers.
Okay.
So if I would tell any of the current students and recent graduates what my roll number was,
What
they
was
would
it?
be in a they would be in a shock.
Were you student number one?
No, not that far back. But I was early 3-digit number.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a while. So I graduated and I worked in Pakistan for a little bit and then moved abroad. So
Okay.
I worked over there for 10 years, several blue chip clients and companies.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, I never worked for a Pakistani-based US company.
Okay.
So all along my career was with large corporations in US.
Okay.
So
And the experience of coming back and working here? How has
I
that
actually stayed in touch all along.
Okay.
So socially it wasn't such a big shock or surprise. I mean, I was well prepared mentally and my family for the traffic and the load shedding, and I mean, we were well equipped to handle that. But some of the shocking things have been in the lack of business development, lack of innovation, which I see in the local market. So I mean, socially, I don't think I had any shocks as such, but professionally and from a business standpoint, it has been a lesson that I'm still learning.
Okay. Well, this is not the US. There is a lot happening here as well now. You must have seen, especially in the IT sector, there has been considerable innovation taking place in the last few years. But certainly, there is a lot to learn. And some of the things we should perhaps be doing to encourage innovation in this country?
Innovation cannot be, my belief is that you cannot force innovation on anyone. No government agency amount of funding can actually motivate people to go out and innovate. It has to be natural.
Of course.
And so
but the environment can be created so that it's easier for innovation to take place.
Agreed. So innovation, the root or the foundation of that environment for innovation, I believe, is competitiveness and pressure. I mean, if you are doing well with whatever you have, then probably you will not go on
You become
innovating. You become complacent. So I think what has happened in the last 10 years or so here in Pakistan, and even though I was abroad, I was on top of what was happening here through news and interaction with the other expats. So what I have seen is that only now for the first time there is true competition in the Pakistani business scene.
Okay.
Banking and telecom, they stand out. They are now desperately going after customers. And when you are facing tough competition, then there are 3 things that you always need to worry about.
Okay.
One is operational excellence.
Right.
So you have to reduce your operational cost in order to fight the competition. Second is product innovation. So you have to continually differentiate yourself from
everybody
your
else,
competitors. And then the third, of course, is customer intimacy. So you have to make sure that you have a tighter link with your customer base and you understand them much better. So I think that on the operational excellence side, there has been a lot of progress.
Okay.
We see a lot of ERP implementations and a lot of automation and computer-based workflows and activities within the operational environment. So we see that happening, but the product innovation and the customer intimacy side, this is yet to come.
Okay.
So I believe as the industry, as the business, who are the customers of IT as such, as they evolve, they are going to force innovation down onto IT and onto technology companies.
Okay.
So it has to come from the business side. IT itself, it's very difficult to push that out to the business.
Okay.
Now, one of the things I want to add here is we have a big advantage. The advantage is that we have a shorter learning cycle.
Okay.
You can see how things are working in the West. You can look at some of those concepts, some of those ideas,
Some of the mistakes.
what they have learned
Right.
through trial and error. You don't need to
You don't need to
repeat
waste time
those,
on
yeah.
that. Yes.
So and then you try to figure out what modification of that concept is applicable in our culture, in our society, in our environment. So I think that gives us a tremendous edge. Unlike other professions, let's say medicine है या arts and entertainment है, उनके मुकाबले में IT is a little bit better placed to do this.
Okay.
कि उधर से कॉन्सेप्ट लिया, ऑस्ट्रेलिया से ले लिया, कोई इंग्लैंड से ले लिया, फ्रांस से ले लिया, यूएस से ले लिया, उसको लोकल मार्केट के हिसाब से टेलर किया और उसको यहाँ पर रिलीज कर दिया. लेकिन जब तक बिजनेस की तरफ से अडॉप्शन नहीं आएगी, उस वक्त तक इट्स गोना बी वेरी वेरी डिफिकल्ट.
Okay. But that's only for the domestic market. What about companies that are targeting the export market?
अच्छा, अब एक्सपोर्ट मार्केट में मैं ये समझता हूँ, until I came down here, I was actually very focused on the export side, working in US. So now that I have come down here, I have started focusing a little bit on the domestic scene. एक्सपोर्ट में इशू ये है कि हम इंडिया और चाइना और फिलीपींस और हम इनसे नहीं compete कर सकते. The amount of work they have done already, the amount of infrastructure they have in
And
place.
perhaps the kind of work that they're doing.
Well,
because
that is
it
exactly my
requires-
point,
Yeah,
because,
it requires large numbers of people.
Exactly. So what we need to do is we need to differentiate ourselves. अब आप ये देखें कि based on a I think 3 or 4 year old study that was published in the CIO magazine in US, outsourcing के एक trend के ऊपर उन्होंने एक study publish की थी. और in that what they had done was they showed that the top-notch research oriented and innovation oriented outsourcing goes to Israel.
Right.
Israel is the top beneficiary of that because of their institutions and because of the investment they have done into their technology infrastructure. So that is something that we need to strive for. If we're going to keep competing with India on the same scale, we have no chance. So we will have to differentiate ourselves. So export market mein the key is, what do we specialize in? What do we present ourselves in? What do we bring to the table that no one else does as well as we do? And I don't think the export market so far has found that niche that everyone needs to collaborate on. So currently individual companies have their own vision and their strategy, and
they have excelled
and they have excelled and they have done it. But institutionalizing that to find the opportunity, build an excellence into it, get help from academia to support that type of initiative. So if there is any particular area within technology which we believe is a high skill or is a knowledge skill area where we can do well, maybe we should force some of the top institutions, academic institutions, to set up a program there.
Yeah,
Find
right.
a couple of faculty members who specialize in that, attract them, give them incentives to come down here and do that. तो वो अभी नहीं हो रहा है, या as a formal institutionalized way में नहीं हो रहा है. We don't know what are the 3 or 4 things where we want to be able to differentiate from other outsourcing entities or destination within the world. So that is, I believe, a missing piece which someone needs to strive and take care of.
Or we as a,
collectively we need to get together
work.
and try to figure out कि what are these areas which are hot selling and are in demand in US or in the Western markets. Even in the current recessionary environment, there are avenues and pockets of that. And I think this current recession is a great opportunity for Pakistani export market to make a name for itself, because so far the reaction to this recession, there are all sorts of opinions and views. There is no consorted opinion so far emerging. This was the problem. This is how I'm going to fix it. It's all over the place, and I think this is where the opportunity is. You bring in some technology to help those ideas, and if that technology is adopted and actually starts to solve some of the recessionary problems, then of course we will be on the world
So we
map.
should work with the R&D fund and try and
Absolutely,
do this.
absolutely. This is
This is what they are trying to achieve.
exactly, and I think they are spot on in their
Yeah.
vision of what they need to do, how to differentiate themselves, creating websites and data entry type of activities. They're
No,
not
no,
going to get us
that's-
anywhere.
yeah.
We need to differentiate ourselves, and an R&D fund and initiatives along those lines are actually very, very critical in helping us achieve that.
Okay. Now, Nauman, you have also been very helpful in working with us to advise kids on how they should put together their resumes, because a lot of hiring takes place in the IT sector, but a lot of time is spent on looking at CVs that look almost the same and don't contain the kind of information that people are looking for. So how about some guidelines, some suggestions for young
Sure.
people who are watching the show?
Let me give you a quick background on how it came about to be one of the areas that I focus on.
Sure.
When I moved to US, this was early 1997, late 1996, early 1997 timeframe. And the exodus of H1 jobs was just starting,
Okay.
driven from the Y2K
Right.
phenomena. So 98, 99, 2000, it really peaked with the dot-com and everything. So what happened was, I was among the early entrants of, or early beneficiaries of that wave, and I was there in US. So what I started doing, I started looking for jobs in US, wherever I was, whatever contact or network I had, and I started sending those back here.
Okay.
To Pakistan, and I started asking people to send me resumes for this specific skill set, and I can put them in front of a client. So I started kind of on a volunteer
So
basis.
you are one of the people responsible for the brain drain.
I'm hoping that someday it will come back. So,
Right.
So at that time, what I realized was that a lot of those resumes that I was receiving were not good enough to be put in front of clients, and I started fixing them.
Okay.
So as I started fixing them, literally I would spend, if there was a job fair over there on a Sunday, Friday and Saturday, I would spend my time fixing the resumes, and then I would go drop those resumes in the right booths at the right companies, and they would then contact me.
Great.
So I got very good at fixing resumes. So from there, I started developing more of a checklist so that I can do this quickly, and then I started sending that information back.
Okay.
What happened after 2001, 2002 with the September 11 and everything, that the H1 activity slowed down.
Yeah.
So I think from 2002 to 2007, I hardly did any more on resume type of activities. But when I came down here, it came in as a very handy tool once again to explain to the kids that this is what you are marketing yourself as. No matter how good you are, no matter how smart you are, if your resume doesn't reflect that, then you're not going to get through.
And so we invited you to the Pasha Career Expo,
Yes.
where you were a hit. Absolutely. Even after your session, the kids wouldn't leave you alone.
No, I'm glad that they respond to this thing. They understand that this is helpful, and there should, for every graduating batch in every institution. I mean, I wish I'm open. If they want to invite me to come give a 20-30 minute talk to the graduating batch
We
in
will
every
take
institution,
you. Rabia and I will drag you.
I would love that. They need that before they start going
Exactly.
job hunting in the market.
Exactly.
So what that actually led into, and I'm going to hope that one of the next Pasha events I will be able to do that, is a career planning activity.
Okay.
I think resume and career planning. So resume writing initially was designed for fresh graduates.
Okay.
That's how we had kind of tailored that seminar. But I think if you move into senior or experienced professionals, you still see a problem.
Yes.
And they now need to market themselves slightly differently, having a few years of experience in the market. But that has to tie into their career planning. So I think initial resume writing and presenting yourself and what are you trying to do with your career are two very important pieces which a graduating student should understand,
Right.
and keep an eye out for those things as they progress through their careers.
Okay, so how about a few tips on what they should, fresh graduates should look at when they're putting together a resume?
Several things. First of all, what they need to do is find some of their uncles or anyone in their social circle who is in the private sector and has been working for a while, and put whatever they have put together, put that in front of them and ask, what do you see here? Do you like what I see? What do you see or not? And they should constantly do that to get that feedback. What happens is that the first half of the first page is basically your make or break. If that doesn't catch the attention of the reader or the reviewer of the resume, then he's not going to go down to the second half or to the next page or to the next page. So a few tips that I can offer. First of all, the resume should never be more than 3 pages, and for fresh graduates shouldn't be more than 2 pages actually, because there is not a whole lot that you need to force in there. Second thing is that only put in information which adds any value. For instance, a lot of times I see this specific statement in most resumes: references available upon request. Well, if you have a reference, put in there. If there is none, then, or you don't need one right now, then just take the entire thing out. What's the point of leaving that line in there?
Well, you see, that was in the template that they downloaded.
Exactly, exactly. So, so 2 or 3 things here. So, size of the resume, amount of content on the first half.
And what should the first half contain?
Basically, your selling pitch. What are the 2 things that you are basically selling yourself as? Okay. If you put a generic objective to work for a fancy company or a career-oriented company, I mean, no, it doesn't tell me anything, because every other kid has something like that written on their resume. You have to put something down which you honestly believe in,
right?
And that you are good at. So that's one thing. There should be some couple of lines of text that explain why you are different, and then a few bullets on areas where you really excel. If you've done good work on the networking side, if that's where your thought process is, that you like it and you're excited about it, because even within technology there are areas of specialization.
Of course.
And your first job will actually make that your area of specialization. You're going to be stuck in that discipline. If you end up in the databases side, if you end up in web development side, if you end up in networking or infrastructure, system administration, wherever you end up, then that'll
that should be
your career. It's going to define. It will be very difficult to then change paths after you spend 2-3 years in there. So make sure that the 3 or 4 bullets that you put on top are in line with which area within IT that you are excited about.
Exactly.
So you have a higher
chance.
Because
it's important to enter a career and do things that you're excited about.
Exactly.
Because you're only going to excel if you're...
Exactly. If it comes from within, only then you can go ahead and there are no limitations. Okay. So one of the things I see kids making a mistake on is that they would list things which they believe the reader expects them to write. So don't do that. Right. Don't be honest with yourself. Be honest in your resume. Whatever you believe you're good at, put that in there. Because the moment you are in front of somebody who's interviewing you, they're going to know that you've just put it in there. So I was interviewing a kid sometime back. In his resume, fresh graduate, his resume said that he was a computer science graduate, and he said, I have interest in marketing. Okay. One of the top bullets in his profile. And I said, okay, if someone says they are excited about marketing, then they know a few more things than general public,
of course,
about marketing, because they're excited about it. So I asked him how many books you've read, who's your favorite author in marketing, what magazines or journals do you subscribe to, and what do you think is the marketing profession, what's the difference between marketing and sales. I mean, a lot of MBAs actually get stuck on this one. But this kid was really good at that. I mean, he knew some of the well-known books. He had read those. So I could see that it's not just a statement.
And he had an opinion about.
Exactly. He is able to back it up. And of course I hired him. I hired him and I gave him some of the things that I thought he will be very good at. Okay. So this is very important. Don't just put bullets which you believe are going to excite the interviewer.
Unless you have something to back it up.
Yeah, with. Because you're going to get caught immediately after that. So it's not going to go very far.
Right, right. So that's one of the things. So that should appear on the resume. What are some of the other mistakes that you see that people include in the resume?
Too much jargon, too much buzzwords, way too diversified exposure. For instance, on one place they are claiming that we are good in databases, we've done this. On the other hand, they will say, well, I'm also a Cisco network specialist. So, I mean,
can't be a specialist in too many things.
Exactly. So you need to make sure that there is a theme to the resume, and there is nothing wrong with having 2 or 3 versions of your resume, depending on, maybe you are good at both things, but you cannot put both of them on the same resume. So if you're applying for a networking job, bring the networking piece to the front. If you're applying for a database related job, bring that piece to the front, hide the other pieces.
So you mean you should have more than one resume? You shouldn't be sending the same standard resume to every job that you apply for?
This is very, very important. You have to put the effort in. I'll tell you from my experience, during the .com bubble burst, I was laid off from my employer. And I was out of work for maybe 3 weeks, and then I found another job. It wasn't a problem. But that 3 weeks, I had sent customized 350 resumes.
Wow.
And the reason why I did that is because the crisis that me and my family went through during those 3 weeks of uncertainty, I wanted to make sure it doesn't happen again to me. And I didn't want just any job. I wanted the job so that I don't run into this thing ever again. And therefore, it was very important for me to find that job and then tailor my resume accordingly, so I increase my chances of getting in there. So I mean, you have to do this. I mean, if you are serious about your career, then there is no other way of doing that. Let me give you another, for the record, another tip for the kids. They should search job boards.
Okay.
Even US job boards like Monster or Career Builder or Dice, what they are looking for is, if they believe they are a Java developer, for instance, they should type that in there, look at the job description coming out
and see if they fit into that.
Exactly. Compare yourself that
right.
If this is a Java developer, this is what an American top branded company is going to hire. Do you have these things? Do you even understand what these things mean? And then go read about it. So make sure that so always compare yourself with job ads. Even if you're not looking for a job, constantly pay attention to job ads. It will tell you what the trend in the market is.
Right.
Where is it going? What type of, if today you search Java something on Monster and 5,000 hits come back, next week 4,800 come back, I mean, you will start to see that, oh, you know what, maybe Java is not so hot anymore.
Right. Maybe PHP is what you're looking at.
Exactly. So that's, you constantly have to monitor and guide your career to move forward.
Okay, terrific. Now, career planning, you're quite right. I mean, people who get their first job either tend to stay with it, or they sort of skip from one to the next and then stick with the third one without looking further. And so, you know, their careers don't actually grow at the rate that they should. So do you think this should be taught perhaps at university? This should start?
I think so. Career counseling sessions have to be there, because you see, you have to balance your career aspirations with your current financial needs. So switching a job to get more money, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But if you can align that with
what you
your
would like
career
to do.
growth or your desire as well, then that's the perfect situation.
Right.
So shoot for the perfect situation and you will end up somewhere close to that.
Right.
So I think that absolutely, this is very critical. Graduating batch should go through a session. If they want to include that as a 1 credit hour extra credit, actually ask them to write something on their career track. What do they believe they're going to be doing when they, I mean, working for a multinational or working for a software export house, that doesn't cut it. You need to have more finer, in-depth analysis into your personality. And when you've spent 4 years in for instance, I remember as a student, some of my friends were exceptionally bright. And during my educational career, I could see that I'm reading a question and they've put the answer down and debated the answer twice, fixed it and moved on. And I'm still reading the answer. So you will always see some other kids in your peer group who are exceptionally bright, who are introverts, who are extroverts, some are good at this, some are good at that. You need to understand these things.
And that's what makes up the world. I mean, everybody can't be the same.
Exactly, you're not the same. So you need to understand where you excel, what your weakness is, how do you convert that weakness into a strength over time, and how would you go, what type of company will help you do that.
Right.
So don't just a lot of times the fresh graduates, and this is another a big no-no that they should not do, is they compare their salaries. Starting, if I get 8,000 and my friend get 9,000, I don't know what the current numbers are.
No, 9,000 is not it.
Okay. So you would end up in a position which, although pays high and you can feel good about yourself, but in next 3 years
you may stay at that.
Exactly. So don't make that a driver.
Right.
Look for other things, exposure, learning opportunity, work environment. I mean, a lot of those things are very, very important.
Right. Now, you are also working with entrepreneurs, mentoring them, guiding them, maybe helping them raise finance. So can you tell us what has your experience been? What are the things that they need to concentrate on if they are going to get funding from, especially not only just the domestic market, but funding from overseas?
So I will tell you why I am involved in that activity.
Okay. All right.
I believe what we are missing as a country is examples,
right.
Success stories. If there are a lot of success stories, there is a lot of momentum that automatically catches on.
Right.
And since we don't have success stories, so success stories coming from top financial group or from top industrialist in the country, that really doesn't count much. But a success story coming from an ordinary lower middle class educated background kid is really something that can give hope and explain to everyone that, you know what, this is possible, you can do it. So
right.
My motivation of getting involved with entrepreneurs is more along those lines. Right. I would like to create a handful of success stories where kids, ordinary kids out of this country, educated here, born, raised here, they are able to do something well in their lives at a global level.
Right.
And once that happens, you take that story and you tell that to everyone that they didn't have contacts, they didn't use any government connections or political connections, and still they worked hard at it and they were successful. Right. So my motivation is to create those stories. So I'm only working with a handful of entrepreneurs, and I am marketing them myself using my network in US and my circle of friends, making them act as investors to do this.
Right.
So I'm not formally approaching this through a venture fund or anything like this. This is more my personal effort into creating 2 or 3 stories, and that is all I need.
Well, that's great. If each one of us did that, that group would grow.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think if I am successful at what I'm doing, there are a lot of expats sitting over there who are interested in doing something like this, but they don't want to. It's very difficult to actually work your way up from the ground. You have to be here to do this, and not everyone is in a position to move back to Pakistan. So the handful of people who have actually taken that leap of faith to come back here, I think it is their responsibility to make sure that this kind of becomes a good enough positive cycle.
So what do you look for when you're, this handful of companies that you've got that you're marketing? What is it that attracts them to you?
It's actually very different the way I'm doing this. What I'm doing is I'm only looking into areas where I have my personal expertise.
Okay.
So if I understand a certain technology, if I understand a certain market, and of course, since I have worked in that area in US, I have a pretty good network of customers as well as investors in that sector. So for instance, networking is not my area of expertise. So some kid may have done something really good in networking. I probably would not be interested in that because I wouldn't know how to market this thing. Yeah. So I'm only going after projects or initiatives which are right up my area of expertise, which I believe are good enough products.
And which areas are those?
It's primarily analytics,
okay.
And knowledge management, I mean, high-end business intelligence type of area. So those are, and consumer-oriented, consumer marketing, customer analysis, that type of, if anyone has done something along those lines, I will not only help them with guidance and advice on how to improve that product,
Right.
what are the areas they should be focusing on, and then I will take that input and take it to my network abroad, and I will explain it to them that, hey, remember we talked about this problem here, here, here? Look, I've got a product that can solve this problem now.
Okay.
So that's how I'm doing it. So I cannot work with more than 2 or 3 at a time.
Well, when you're done with the first 3, let us know and we might introduce a few more.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I am working closely. I'm trying to stay close to Pasha and to ICT R&D Fund to keep an eye on initiatives which are along these lines. And if I don't take them, I know other people who are willing to take them up.
Great.
If some of the groundwork has been laid down.
Terrific. Thank you, Nauman. That was great to know, and we wish you luck.
Thank you.
And let us know once a few of these have been successful.
You will know, absolutely. I wouldn't.
You
need
won't have to
come
tell me.
Yeah, I won't have
Okay.
to tell you. You will find out that yes, this has happened, and now we are looking for more
Great.
such opportunities.
Great. Terrific. Thank you
Okay?
so much.
Thank you very much.
That was Nauman Sheikh, a technologist, come back from the US, trying to help a few companies to make it big globally, and we wish him luck. This is Jahan Ara signing off from In the Line of Wire.